John Henson lives on the edge of extreme danger every single day.
Clear? Clear. Clear? Good. Code 4? Code 4.
Henson is an 18-year veteran of the Pittsburgh City Police Force, 13 of those years as a narcotics detective and a member of the elite SWAT team. This is the team that responds to violent crimes, to gang activity, and watches out over large events for potential mass killings. This is also the team first on the scene of the Tree of Life massacre, capturing the gunman, preventing more deaths and terror on the worshippers and fellow officers. But by far, the most terrifying and tragic time in John Henson's life happened in 2020, when he heard the words, "You have cancer."
You see something so serious enough that it's eye-opening, and this situation was eye-opening. When I first got sick, I only addressed my team on SWAT about it. I didn't tell too many people. I didn't know how to handle the situation. It was very overwhelming. It's a very serious situation.
John was diagnosed with diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, which is the most common type of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. John was diagnosed in early spring of 2020, and he got standard chemotherapy with one of my colleagues, Dr. Goel, out at Upper St. Clair, the cancer center there. Unfortunately, soon after he completed that treatment, his cancer came back.
Well, this is not good. I go down there. Cancer came back in a different location into my lung, which I found out later on it actually collapsed my lung.
Henson was placed on a clinical trial, evaluating the standard treatment with a newer option, only used when all other treatment options had failed. Patients were randomized, and John received the standard treatment, a stem cell transplant, but the cancer returned again. He was immediately provided the newer option, CAR T-cell therapy.
So CAR T therapy essentially involves us collecting a patient's immune cells, so T cells, and they're genetically modified to express a protein on the surface that targets a certain protein on the outside of lymphoma cells. So in essence, you're using a patient's own immune system to fight their particular cancer.
Patients undergoing CAR T treatment are given very high doses of chemotherapy that depletes their immune system, and they have to remain in the hospital for up to a month. At the time of Henson's treatment, the COVID pandemic heightened, hospital visitation strictly limited. That meant that Henson spent hours alone, seeing his wife only a couple of hours a day.
I think the lowest point was in the spring of 2021, and I told him, you need to get a higher level of mental health care, which I could not do in the house because I saw his moods changing, and this is a man who would say, I am so scared, I am so scared. He's never been scared of anything.
I was waking up every day crying. Didn't know why I was crying. Couldn't explain to my wife why I was crying. Called my friends, didn't know why I was crying.
So I think most cancer patients will tell you that more than half the battle is actually mental and not physical. And I think John is certainly an example of that, and he would tell you as such.
Henson didn't think he'd survive his cancer, and instead that his wife and young daughter would be left with medical bills. And if he did survive, he didn't think he'd ever return to the job he loved. But what he forgot, that his brothers and sisters on the police force and other local police officers would never let that happen.
What we did is we got a new piece of SWAT equipment. It's called a Bearcat. It's an armored vehicle, smaller than the version we had before, but it's brand new. You know, new equipment, new smells, just a cool piece of cool thing to have. And we took that over to the hospital and we pulled it up right out front, and we made him come outside and look at it. He was sitting inside of it, and he broke down crying. And it took me a minute to realize why, but he didn't break down because of his situation that he was in. He broke down because of what he was for the time being, and he didn't know it at the time, but it ended up being for the time being. But what he was leaving behind.
You have to know who you are to fight this battle. You have to know your weaknesses, you have to know your strengths, and you got to work on both to try to fight this cancer. Because you and I know it shows no weakness, you know? And that's why I really connect, John, just sitting there and spending hours in the room and just sitting and talking, or even in silence.
To see those individuals show up on a daily basis, and it meant more to me than I could ever express.
In the darkest moments, Henson would recall a quote from his hero, decorated U.S. Navy SEAL and lone survivor Marcus Luttrell.
That quote stuck with me for a very long time, and it still sticks with me today, and it's, no matter how much it hurts, how dark it gets, or how far you fall, you're never out of the fight.
Henson's former partner, who was personally helped in a time of need by Henson, became his spiritual advisor, and together they brought religion back to their lives.
We became very close because that was at a time when I was going through some personal problems in my life. And he was there, for me. And I don't know how I would have got through the things that I went through without having him there. The adversity, everything that's gone on with him. And what's so important, it's not so much the job. It's that relationship with God. It is the relationship with your spouse and your family. And then the job and everything else filters down through that.
Henson was off work for nearly 2 years, and in that time, with the help of therapy, his family and his fellow officers, plus the support of his many friends, he worked his way back to health and to that job he loves.
To handle it.
You're getting a call, I'm sorry.
I'm not getting a call. Hi, it's James Conner. For whose award you're getting. James,
What's up, man?
this is John. John's getting your award this year.
Yeah, apparently I'm getting your award because your name's all over it.
Oh, man, you deserve that and way more, brother. Man, congratulations, John. It's nice to meet you, brother, through the phone, but, man, just been hearing about the story. You just got all my love and respect, man. Just everything you've been through, how you fighting, man, it's just hats off to you, bro. This is huge. You got a brother in me.
This is why we participate in research and why I've chosen to be a clinical trialist.